Hey, what's going on, y'all? I have a theory. I think history is repeating itself based on the years that I've been playing this game. As I look back, I see patterns in the way that they release information, the way that they do beta testing, the way that they release trailers and content before the games came out, back in the day when the Division 1 was released. So I think they're going to use the same patterns that they've used before in order to generate hype for the Division 3. What's going on, y'all? It's 𝒉𝒆𝒍𝒑𝒔 from Identity, and I make videos about things I'm into as far as gaming, mainly RPG looter shooters. If that's something you're into, then drop a like and subscribe to my channel. Now let's get into this. Okay, a little history lesson. Division 1 was announced at E3 2013. The game was announced several years after the initial development began. Multiple Ubisoft studios collaborated on the game, indicating a large-scale and multi-studio approach. Then, the Division 2 was a March 2018 announcement, announced 3 years after the release of the first game, following a pattern of significant time between announcement and release. The Division 1 player testing, alpha and closed beta. It was conducted in December of 2015 and a month after, January 2016, respectively, to refine gameplay and build community engagement. The open beta was held in February of 2016, involving over 6.4 million players, which helped in stress testing servers and gathering feedback. The Division 2's closed beta took place in February of 2019, followed by an open beta the next month in March. This approach mirrored the first game's strategy to generate hype and test the game. Like I said, history is repeating itself, ladies and gentlemen, and if I'm right, they're going to do the same thing with the Division 2 when it comes to the release of the Division 3. This is how they do, and usually when things work out in the past, they repeat it so that they could garner the same success that they did before. Okay, now let's talk about the post-launch support. In the Division 1, we had these expansions. They released Underground, which was great. I loved playing that. For some reason, it had some sort of appeal for many players. Then came Survival, which was an amazing update. Definitely brought back a whole group of people. It kept players who were already playing for long after it was released. And then shortly after that was the release of Last Stand, which entailed huge maps in sections of the Dark Zone with groups of 8v8, just chaos, an amazing mode. And it kept the game fresh and engaging. Now, I wouldn't really say the same thing about the Division 2 because they could have done the same thing with Heartland, but they decided to not make it a separate game mode for the Division 2. What they did do was release free DLCs and new missions to maintain the player engagement and extend the game's lifespan. One thing about the Division 2 I will say is that these endless build possibilities and gameplay styles with the ninja bike, memento, the capacitor, all of the new gear and weapons that they add in the title updates keep the player engagement moving, especially with the art style of the exotic weapons, which is a complete outlier to how the exotics were in Division 1. Division 1, we just had like a red skin, flat plane of the weapon art when it came to looking at the icon of the weapons. You can use however many exotics you want in a build. And it wasn't really detailed as much as it is in Div 2. I'd say that when the Eagle Bearer came out, just the way that it looked, it made people want to get it, regardless of how the weapon performed. Then the Ravenous, and you have the Capacitor, and you have the Chatterbox. All of these weapons look beautiful, and it just makes you want to get your hands on it and play with it. So in that regard, I think there's a different type of player retention when it comes to the longevity of the Division 2. So here's the pattern when I say that history is repeating itself. Within the announcement timing, approximately 3 years after the previous game's significant updates, like Last Stand, Survival, or expansions, the Division 2 was announced 3 years after those major updates to the Division 1. And like I said, with that came multiple betas, closed and open, before the official release to test and build community hype, consistent use of beta testing to refine gameplay and engage players early. These continuous updates and expansions post-launch are to sustain interest and prepare for future installments. So the purpose of this video is to explain to you how, with history repeating itself, the same thing is going to happen with the Division 3. And I think that the developers are going to use Ubisoft Forward to sort of begin this generation of hype. I'm not saying that they're going to show a huge trailer at Ubisoft Forward. I think the main focus in Ubisoft Forward is to show exactly what's coming in year 6. Who knows what they're going to bring? Are they going to bring a new game mode? Are they going to bring new missions? Are they going to expand the map like they did when they expanded the Dark Zones at Division 1? That was definitely a significant change that we needed to keep us going. So what are they going to bring to keep us going in the Division 2 and generate the hype to make it build up to the announcements of Division 3 trailers and gameplay, what it has coming? Don't get me wrong. Year 6 is not coming to a little bit later, but I just thought that I'd make this video and let you know what is happening. I did get myself disappointed when I had faith in them to deliver on Heartland when the last Ubisoft Forward came out. It was their big opportunity to tell us when Heartland was coming out, what they were doing with it, significant leaps and bounds to progress they were making. But obviously you saw that there was trouble in paradise. They didn't know what they wanted to do with that game, so they ended up canceling it, which explains why they didn't show anything in Ubisoft Forward. But the Division franchise, main franchise, I mean, I'm talking about the 1, 2, and potential 3 installments of the Division are the bread and butter of the game. They are not going to let this go. And this is a personal belief. I think that they've been working on it even before Julian Garrity got his squad together. When they made that announcement saying that Division 3 is coming out and they're working on a team, they're getting their team together. Come on, man. They already had the team ready. They've been working on the game just like they have been in this pattern that I'm speaking about. Now, one thing I will say, when Division 1 was announced back in the day, there was a split within the community because it was an evolution of a whole perspective of a game. It was an RPG looter shooter. I feel like the Division as a concept was the first of its kind, a looter shooter RPG cover based. And when the beta came out, when people started playing it, there was a lot of controversy surrounding the gameplay, the bullet spongy enemies. It felt like you were playing World of Warcraft or some type of RPG in a shooter. It was unheard of. It was like an oxymoron to people. It didn't make sense. So some people completely backed away from it. Others became diehard fans, and the game ended up having a cult following. The Division 2 came through and kind of balanced out the entire player base and solidified the fan base to where it's at now. Everybody knows what the game is. Everybody knows what to expect. So in Division 3, there shouldn't be any confusion about what we want. Nobody's wondering what this is. Nobody's thinking like, oh man, I don't know about this game. I don't know what it's about. I thought it was going to be a tactical shooter. I didn't know we would have to shoot these enemies with 1,000 bullets to kill them. None of that speculation is up in the air anymore. It's clear what the Division franchise is about, and the hype is real. So if you know me, I'm always optimistic about things that are coming. I'm not delusional because I often question the antics of developers. But when it comes to these things, I'm usually optimist. And if there's something that changes, then I'll address it. Until then, let's keep this positivity going. Let me know what you think about this down below in the comment section. Do you think that they're going to announce something around year 6 about the Division 3? Is history repeating itself? And how do you think everybody's going to take it? That'll do it for this one, fam. I appreciate you listening to me to the end. Like the video if you like this conversation, and subscribe to my channel if you're new here. I'll see you in the next one. Be right out.